everybody. Welcome back again to a little Austin Sports Weekend with Austin the man here himself. It is time to talk some college football. We had some barn burners last weekend, didn't we?
Yeah, some of them made me want to shake my head in grief.
Oh, yeah, and some of them were actually thrilling. We went to the Florida-Tennessee game. We'll always start out with a little Tennessee football because we love us some Tennessee football.
That first half was hideous.
That first half was hard to watch. We had 3-0 at halftime.
Mirror Arkansas, pretty much.
Yeah, 2 quarters of we were scoreless in the first half against Arkansas.
Scoreless
in the first half against Florida. Our defense again was doing the bend but not break. They were doing their best to keep us into the game, and they did. They kept us into the game. I mean, 3-0 at halftime. A body should be winning that game. You know, if you only give up 3 points on defense, and that little penalty there at halftime that took the field goal away ended up being pretty big there too. The 12 men on the field, you don't have any timeouts, so the clock runs out.
Let me tell you this, Sunbelt Billy, that's a joke we have for Billy Napier. He had some questionable decisions in
He
this
used to
game.
coach. He used to coach in the Sun Belt before he came to the SEC. Yeah. He definitely had some questionable
at the
decisions.
end of this game, I'll get to that later. At the end of the game, he had a bad decision.
That was a really bad decision. Yeah. As a Tennessee fan, it's fantastic, but as a Florida fan, that was a really bad decision he made at the end of the game there.
When he gets a go-ahead touchdown, what do you think? You're trying to save your job. You're on the road against a rival. What do you do?
It's 17-17. There's 10 seconds or so left. You just got a touchdown. You're behind 1 point. You can kick the field goal and go for overtime, or do you go for 2 and try to get the win and get out of Neyland Stadium with 102,000 people yelling at you?
He should have went for the throw.
He should have went for 2 because they started out with the momentum, and then Tennessee ended the game with the momentum.
And, yeah, Tennessee got their offense going, and I'll get to Joey Halsley in a minute, but that ending of the game where Florida kind of fumbled the bag with some coaching decisions.
Yeah. As far as Tennessee right now, as far as their struggles go, they're struggling in a lot of different areas on the defensively. You can't say a whole lot.
Offensive line is a mess.
The offensive line, they're really, really struggling now to find the blocking schemes that are working.
Because there hasn't really been any that's worked.
No, he's getting a lot of trouble, mainly from the. Heupel even said it in his interview. He said you're supposed to have 5 people working as one, and sometimes we have 3 working as one and 2 not, or 4 working as one and 1 person not working with a 4. They're struggling a little bit to find the continuity, and so that was straight from Heupel's mouth in his postgame. Sometimes they're struggling getting the offensive line, which is taking time away from, Nico is still a freshman. He's 6 games in now.
But do you think he's taken a lot of unfair heat?
He's had 7, he's played, if you count the bowl game last year, which it's hard to count the bowl game, but he's had 7 starts now. He's not going to be Joe Montana or Peyton Manning or, very few rookies come in, or freshmen out of high school, or, very few people come in green and they look fantastic. He looked fantastic early, but the more I think about it, our first 3 opponents were pretty bad as far as that goes.
So we scored 1 billion points.
I think our offensive line could match up strong against them because they were just better players. As we got into the Oklahoma game,
the cracks started to show.
But honestly, we had 2 backup linemen in against Oklahoma, and we looked better than we did the next week against Arkansas. So I think as the better defensive line started coming in, it really started showing cracks in our offensive line.
Let's get to Joey Halsley. I want to get to this topic because this was going to be the game. We talked about it on the drive over.
Yeah.
This was going to be the game for Joey Halsley to prove if he was a big-time coordinator.
I'm not. Some of the play calling was pretty questionable too. Yeah, and I don't know. It's you've got a freshman quarterback now. Nico is struggling a little bit. I think part of it is because he's only 7 games in. I think part of it is he fears for his life because most of the plays he's got 2 seconds to throw the ball and that's it. So you're thinking in the back of your head, I better get this out of my head. I'm going to get killed. and you make bad decisions or you overthrow or whatever.
But isn't that also on Joey because he refuses to really call a play that develops quicker?
We need to figure out a way to get the ball out of Nico's hands
Quicker.
But
Joey hasn't called any of those plays. He's usually he's fascinated with the inside draws. We made jokes about it sitting in the stadium, like inside draw number 300, inside draw number 153.
I almost felt like I was watching a Philip Fulmer offense back in the early 2000s. Late there one time, run, pass, run, pass, run, pass. It got a little monotonous there for a while. They did change their philosophy a little bit in the second half, and we started ripping off some yardage. We scored 17 points in the second half. What if we'd scored 17 points in the first half?
We would have won handily.
It'd have been 34 points that we would have had in the game, which is more like where we need to be. I'm optimistic a little bit that we found a way to get 17 points in the second half.
But the play calling and the game plan needs to
The
improve.
game plan was not very good for the
same
talent
game
that we
plan
have right now.
That we had against Oklahoma.
Yeah.
It felt like the same game plan we had against Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like the same game plan we had against Florida. But very minimal changes.
I'm a big Brew McCoy fan, and he did not catch one single ball against Florida.
That's just you got to get your playmakers involved.
Holden Stays got 2 catches. Ethan Davis got 2 catches. Dante Thornton only got 1 catch. So I don't know. Something has definitely got to change a little bit.
And we're saying this in a win against Florida.
Yeah. Now I don't want to sound like a whining Tennessee player, a whining Tennessee fan.
Yeah, I'm truly not. I just want to keep my glasses on to see it for what it is at the moment.
It's like, whenever your parents, whenever you do something wrong and your parents scold you a little bit, the reason your parents are doing it is because they love you and they want you to do better. I love my team and I want them to do better.
So you criticize
So I
them
criticize a little bit of stuff that I think they're doing wrong. Now, I'm a couch quarterback. I'm not on the sidelines. I'm not in the locker rooms. This is observations from somebody that's been watching Tennessee play for 40 years. That's all I am. But yeah, there's you could definitely see some things that need to change.
Well, for Florida, the change is obvious here, don't you think? I think Billy
Everybody
Napier's
knows
sitting duck.
He's a lame duck. He's coaching his way out of Florida. Now, see, they haven't hit. They haven't even. Florida hasn't even hit the hard part of their season yet. But here we go. Let's talk about some positive. This game, Josh Heupel now has more wins against Florida than Lane Kiffin, Derek Dooley, Butch Jones, and Jerry B. Pruitt combined.
Man, isn't that an indictment of our past 2010s decade?
Uh-huh. And this is a little bit of what we were talking about play calling. Sampson, I think Sampson's getting wore out a little bit. He's small. He's really quick. I think he's the next Alvin Kamara as far as him going into the NFL. Sampson had 9 carries for 19 yards in the first half. The scheme just wasn't something. He finished, after they changed the scheme in the second half, he had 27 carries for 112 yards and 3 touchdowns.
So you get better as the game goes on, I guess.
They did make some offense. Here are the grades according to PFF. Here is our grades for our offensive linemen. Cooper Mays graded out the game with a 75.8. He was actually the center of the week in the SEC. He graded the highest. Dane Davis graded a 69.3. He only had 10 plays. Jackson Lampsey graded a 61.6. He only had 10 plays. Those are some of the backups. John Campbell, 55.6. Carrick had 54.8. Javante Spraggins at 51.4. And Lance Hurd, a whopping 38, graded out as a 38.3.
So what's the average for PFF?
Well, 75.8 was the highest. That's what Cooper Mays had, and that was the highest. So if you can get into the 60s to 70s, you're doing good.
But Lance
if you're in
Hurd
if you're in the 30s to 40s to 50s, you're not grading that high. So that just tells you that we've got some pretty good offensive linemen, but then they're
underperforming.
I don't know if it's the mixture
Do you think they're just
I don't
flat
know
out
if
underperforming
I don't
at
know
this
if I
point?
don't know if we need to switch players around.
That's what I
Different
recommend
sides.
we do. That's what
Oregon switched some players from
And look
one
how
side
that
to
turned
another,
out.
and they solved their problems. I don't know if we can do that. Again, I'm not on the side. You know, I'm not in the locker room. I don't know who it's what and what is what. But Tennessee, let's get back to another positive. In 1990, Tennessee beat Florida at home. And then in 1992, Tennessee beat Florida at home. That was the last 2 years Tennessee won back-to-back home games against Florida
And we've did it with Heupel now.
with Heupel. So winning back-to-back home games against Florida is fantastic. I mean, the first time we've done it in 30-something years that we've won back-to-back home games against Florida. So winning that game, even though it was sort of ugly and close, it was beautiful because that's one of the biggest rivalries we bounce around with that we have. Now, here's a positive. We were talking about positives with our defense. Tennessee has held each of its first 6 opponents to fewer than 20 points. It's the first time since 1969 our defense has been that good.
Well, the criticism's not towards the defense.
No.
So that's one of those things I was
That's
wanting
telling
to
you
point out.
that's telling you why we're still in the games. If we could score 21 points, we win. Because our defense it's not giving up more than 20, and the best since 1969 that
It's
our
kinda-
defense has been. Let's see here. Oh, let's see here. That might be about her. I think the rest of my stuff is on Alabama.
Speaking of Alabama, do you want to go ahead and move on to the next game?
Yeah. We can go ahead and move on to the next game.
Alabama hosted South Carolina, and that was too close for comfort.
Yeah, it was one of those games where you were like, are they still reeling from the Vanderbilt game? Because they were at home.
And they
Alabama was
struggle
at
bust
home.
through
They-
a good chunk of the game.
Honestly, if South Carolina had 2 chances at the end to win and just couldn't find a way to do it.
Isn't that close but no cigar? Isn't that what South Carolina's whole season was? They
They-
had it against LSU.
They had the ball last.
They got an onside kick
They got an onside kick
through a pick.
and couldn't do anything with those things. So Alabama definitely did not pull the line. And Alabama's defense is a little suspect. So that's one thing that gives me a little hope as a Tennessee fan this week. We had Clemson, Wake Forest. Wake Forest is pretty bad.
And Clemson, their offense seems to be
They're
clicking.
clicking a little bit. They started out struggling,
And now they're trying to groove it.
and now they're actually looking pretty good. Now we had Texas, Oklahoma. Oklahoma's worse than we thought.
Oklahoma's
30-43.
Oklahoma's defense tried, but Oklahoma's offense
Mm-hmm.
is it's a cluster of disappointment.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. I don't think you can switch quarterbacks for that team. The offensive line's still going to be a problem.
Yeah, their offensive line's pretty bad too.
And they're
They
also
got a good defensive line.
and they're also criticizing the offensive play caller Seth Littrell over there, and they're wanting him gone. So there's a lot of heat going
Again,
over there.
you've got a defensive-minded head coach, so the system that you run is probably going to be more defensive-oriented than offense-oriented. So that may be.
As for Texas, they're riding pretty high right now. A good win
Yeah.
this week is going to be key.
We got Penn State, USC. I actually had picked USC to upset that one, but they did cover the line, and it did go to overtime. 33 to 30.
We forgot one thing though.
Big
Game James.
Big game. He almost lost it. He's going to lose one of these big ones. He always does. Stanford, Notre Dame. Stanford is
Bad.
terrible.
Notre Dame is not bad, so that's why they won 49 to 7.
Yeah. Arizona, BYU. BYU took care of them pretty easy, 41-19. Mississippi State.
BYU is a surprise for me.
Yeah, they are. They have snuck into the top 15 and they're still winning. Mississippi State sort of surprised me a little bit too. I didn't think that they would hang with Georgia. Again, it gives me a pause against Georgia sometimes because everybody was beating the crap out of Mississippi State, and now all of a sudden they look decent against Georgia. Is that Mississippi State looking good or is that Georgia looking bad?
Georgia has that habit, you know.
They got the habit of letting teams play with them.
Playing down to their competition level. It happens every year.
Yeah. The game of the week, Ohio State at Oregon. That was a fantastic game. Oregon
Back and forth.
Oregon snuck it out 32-31.
That last slide
I think
by
that's
Will
what
Howard.
we picked. I think we picked.
Let's talk about that last slide
Yep.
by Will Howard.
The
He
quarterback
slid
yeah.
down with only 1 second left, and the clock drained, and then the game was over. That
Yeah.
was brutal.
Yeah. How about the 12 men on the field?
Yeah, Dan Lanning,
That was actually
Oregon's
pretty
head coach,
smart.
had a really good, intelligent loophole
He
that
found
was
it.
just recently plugged up.
Yeah, they plugged it up this week. 'Cause imagine how quick they plugged that up, but they won't plug up the fake injuries.
Yeah, dinosaur.
But that was a great game. Yeah. Ole Miss LSU
Another exciting game.
overtime exciting game, 29-26. LSU. I think we
Ole
had
Miss-
the
Ole Miss-
I think we had LSU picked in that one too.
All Ole Miss did was go backwards in their overtime possession, but LSU made it quick and simple on theirs.
One play, 25 yards, game over.
It's easy peasy lemon squeezy.
Go Tigers.
Oh, the Tigers, that's a big win for the LSU.
They actually, because after losing that first game, people were a little
worried about them.
Yeah.
They haven't
But
lost a game since.
They've come on strong since then, yeah. Iowa State, West Virginia. West Virginia played them tough, but Iowa State still
Iowa
won
State's
by
the
12.
quietest team on this list.
Mhm.
You don't
They are.
really hear much from them, but they usually just play sound ball, and that's usually why these kind of quiet teams get up to as high as they have.
Yeah, yeah. All right, let's go ahead and jump into next week. We've actually got a couple Friday games. We'll go ahead and cover those before we get into the Saturday games. Oregon is at Purdue. That will be a bloodbath. Purdue is 1-5, and
Purdue is
Oregon-
terrible, and Oregon's coming off a big high.
Yeah.
So I say Oregon takes care of
The
Purdue.
line's 28.5. I honestly think that's. I think they'll beat them by more than that. Oklahoma BYU, Oklahoma State BYU. Oklahoma State's not very good this year either. They're actually 500 at 3-3.
Can you imagine
BYU.
Ollie Gordon has only gotten like 3 yards a carry, the best returning running back in the country, and Mike Gundy can't get him the ball much?
I don't know if. Do we have a shortage of good offensive linemen this year or something?
Or is it an extended overpiling of good defensive linemen?
It could be, or do we have a lack of good play callers? Could be a combination of all three things, maybe. But I think BYU takes care of them pretty easy. All right, let's jump into our Saturday games. We got Alabama the third Saturday in October.
That
Alabama.
is a classic rivalry that people always look forward to. It's etched into the lore of college football. Everybody who follows college football knows about Tennessee versus Alabama in one way or another. And there's over 100 games played between the two, I think.
Yeah, and there'll be a lot of cigars smoked in either in Alabama or in Tennessee after this thing's over, because the victor always has that
Giant
victory
bulky-
cigar to go around there. Yeah, right now Alabama is favored by 3.
Really depends.
Tennessee.
This is a toss-up game if I've ever seen it.
It is.
Because Alabama's been suspect. Tennessee has been suspect.
See,
Alabama's offense has struggled. Our offense has struggled. Our defense has struggled, but the key is our defense.
Our defense, like we've said, hasn't given up more than 20 points in a game this year. The experts have this game with Alabama scoring 30.
Not at this point, right now. They
No.
barely scored 27 against South Carolina.
Yeah, so the thing is, I don't know if Tennessee could score 20.
I can agree with that, too, because we've barely been able to get 23 against Florida.
It took us overtime to get more than 20 last week. We didn't get more than 20. We only got 19 against
We only got 14 against
Arkansas.
and you got 25 against Oklahoma. So.
Oklahoma. So we're, I hope Tennessee wins, but I'm honestly probably thinking Alabama's probably going to win this.
You pick the Gumps here.
Now I'm like a 27-24. If it's going to score a little more, it's 27-24. If not, it's going to be like a 20-17. But I've definitely got it under the 57 points that they've.
Number one key for
Got
Tennessee is pretty obvious defensively. Jalen Milroe.
They have to keep them under
Keep him-
20 points.
keep him in the pocket.
If they keep Alabama under 20 points, then we got a chance to win, because we're going to score.
But also keep
20-ish.
Jalen Milroe in the pocket.
Mm-hmm.
Keep him in
Yeah.
the pocket.
See, Tennessee's run defense is spectacular.
and Jalen Milroe runs and passes, so that will be a big aspect of Alabama's offense.
And our secondary is greatly improved. You have to say that. It's greatly our secondary is greatly improved from what it used to be. So, but I've still got Alabama probably winning our 27-24. Miami, Louisville.
I want to pick the Canes here. They're riding pretty high offensively, especially. Cam Ward is a Heisman favorite right now.
Yeah, and they did struggle a little bit last game, so you expect them to maybe pull it together
After a
little
bye
bit.
week, especially.
Yeah. Miami -5. We got Virginia, Clemson. Clemson's been on fire lately. You have to roll with the hot hand.
Yeah, orange hot right now, like a Flames orange.
Yeah,
That's what they've been like.
And the
I'll
line's
give you
20
some-
points, so that's pretty
Since
high.
we're talking about Virginia a little bit, there has been a little news that's popped up just today. Tony Bennett may announce his retirement from Virginia basketball today.
That would be huge. That would be huge. We got our next one. We got Notre Dame, Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech's actually been playing pretty
Georgia
good this
Tech
year.
is a pesky
They've been
team.
scrappy. They
I
been
wouldn't
scrappy.
count this as a guarantee for the Irish.
No, they're 5-2 through their first 7 games.
They're one win away from bowl eligibility and maybe more if Georgia Tech looks ahead to it.
Yeah, Notre Dame is favored by 9.5, but they've been playing really good lately. I would probably lean towards Notre Dame, but I wouldn't be surprised if that one flip-flops. We got Texas A&M at Mississippi State.
Texas A&M coming off the biggest high point of their season. They will defeat Mississippi State and continue their roll.
I think that line on that's 18.
Mike
I
Elko, how does he
like
doing
that.
over in Aggie land so far? I think pretty
He's
good.
pretty good. He's a big improvement from last year.
Jimbo.
Oh, Jimbo. One of the games I'm actually looking forward to pretty big this year is LSU Arkansas.
LSU's favored by 1.5 points.
1.5 points.
Arkansas is pesky. We saw it firsthand, LSU.
But a little bit more pesky than what you would think they are. But I'm still going to go LSU. LSU's only favored by 1.5 points. LSU has proved they got some talent to score, and Arkansas will give up points, even though we couldn't score them. Arkansas will give up some points. So I think LSU can outscore them.
Now, next up, the game of the week.
Game of the week, Georgia
At Texas.
At Texas. Texas is favored by 5.
That's
That's a little much.
yeah.
You think that's a little much?
I would do probably. Who would you pick? Would you pick Texas to win?
Texas should win, but I don't know if it's by 5.
5 is a little much. Maybe 3. Maybe a field goal.
I think it's a 2 to 3 point game. I would take Georgia plus 5 as far as that goes, but I do think Texas will probably end up winning it, even if it's a field goal at the last second or something like that. UCF Iowa State. Again, Iowa State's up to number 9, and you just don't think about them, don't look at them, don't think.
That's
much
why
about
they're
them.
quiet.
They're
They
quiet.
don't make much news.
UCF's 3 and 3,
I would
and
probably
Iowa
take
State's
the
on
Cyclones.
fire. I would take the Cyclones there too, and that is it. Just a couple more quick notes on the Tennessee Alabama game. Tennessee hasn't beat Florida in back-to-back home games since 2004 and 2006 were the last 2 years we beat Alabama at home 2 years in a row. So we're looking to break a 18-year
Little streak.
streak with this one. If we win this one, it'll be 2 straight home wins against Alabama. I'm hoping that we do. Our running back is on the mid-season Maxwell Award watch list. Just another little shout out to Dylan Nair. He has 28 career rushing TDs, and he has 15 career rushing TDs right now. And what was it? 18. 18 is the record. Gene McEver, 1929, had 18. Reggie Cobb had 17 in 1987. Dylan Sampson's got 15 right now. So Dylan Sampson's got a really good. He should break Tennessee's season touchdown record this year. So that's something to look forward to. And Nealon Stalin reached decibels of 125.4 against Florida.
That's my ears were ringing.
My
a
ears
little
were.
bit.
I still ain't got my voice back completely, to be honest. And they're looking with Alabama this week to try to hit the 130 mark, is what I've heard. I think we actually broke the record at like 132.4 a few years back, but they're looking to try to hit 130 this weekend. So it should be some fun football. We hope you had a little fun with us talking about the college football.
Yeah, show us your team and show us your team spirit and passion.
Yeah. Thanks again for Severe TV for setting us up here, and thanks for Autographs Plus. We got a signed Josh Heupel helmet and a signed Bryce Young helmet there to bring out for the game this weekend. So be sure and check them out. Until then, we will see you
Next week.